Welcome into MLB Betting Show. First pitch here on Wager Talk YouTube, on Twitter as well. We got Bryan Leonard, Tony Finn. I am Drew Martin. We're breaking down 4 games on the Monday night slate. We got best bets at the end, plus a special Asian Baseball League best bet as well. Bryan Leonard live from Las Vegas, Nevada. Happy Monday morning to you, buddy. Welcome into the show.
Thank you. It's good to see you guys and looking forward to talking some more baseball.
Absolutely. Brian's seeing it well. Check him out at WagerTalk.com. Guys, it's $9 Monday at WagerTalk and SportsMemo.com. Last and not least from Las Vegas as well. He's made his way from Tijuana to Las Vegas, Nevada, and ready to talk some baseball with us. Find some winners here on the card. Tony Finn, WagerTalk.com. Tony, welcome in, buddy.
Thank you very much. So I got here on time, too. Got out of Tijuana. Here on time. It's a feat. Tougher than picking a baseball
winner. Good for you, Tony. Yeah, thanks for joining us, and excited to talk these games with you, man. And starting off here, we got 7 o'clock Eastern, the San Francisco Giants and the Philadelphia Phillies. We're seeing Gausman and Anderson, 2 righties going at it with a competitively priced game here, guys. We got minus 110 on each side, 8.5 being the total. This in Philadelphia, Brian. You interested in getting involved with the NL West, NL East here? Giants and Phillies matchup tonight. Monday night action, 7 o'clock primetime game.
If I play anything, I think there might be some value here on Philadelphia. San Francisco just played those 2 games in Miami, and I believe you said the other day that you were going to attend one of those games, so I hope you had a good time. But both games went down. The last 2 games of the series went down to 1-run games, one of them in extra innings. The closer for San Francisco is out right now with COVID issues, so we don't know if he's coming back soon or not. They haven't really elaborated on it, so they're shorthanded in the bullpen, and the back of the bullpen got some use the last couple of days. That gives us a little bit of an advantage here on Philadelphia, I believe. Chase Anderson going for the Phillies tonight. You take a look at his last 5 against San Francisco. He hasn't faced them since 2019, but when he did, he's been very good. 57 average game score, 2.60 ERA. Kevin Gausman also hasn't faced the Phillies since 2019, but his last 4 starts against Philadelphia, an average game score of 42. But he is pitching better this year. Other than his last outing where he had a 49 game score, he was 67 and 70 the 2 previous this year. So Gausman's pitching a little bit better. But when I take a look at this game, I happen to think the Philadelphia is the better team. You're catching them at home. San Francisco doesn't have their closer. I think Phillies have a little bit of an advantage in this game. I didn't bet it myself, but if I was to look at this game, I would be playing that. It's a situation for me that, the Phillies are 7-2 at home. San Francisco's 4-5 on the road. So I think the Phillies have a little bit of value. May not make my card. In fact, I know I didn't make my card because I passed today. But it's a game that I think has a little bit of value, and the price is right.
Yeah, competitively priced game here, Tony. And San Francisco Giants, I just saw them in South Florida against the Marlins. They faced some tough pitchers there, having to go against Alcantara, Pablo Lopez as well. So now they're making this East Coast road trip up to at least the Northeast here, Philadelphia. A competitively priced game, though, minus 110 on each side here. Do you have a lean, maybe a play here, Tony?
I don't have a lean or play. Oh, I have a lean here. I agree with Brian. Philly, I like Philly at home. First off, their dichotomy for a long time has been better at home than it has been on the road, with a large number of the current roster as well. However, I like Gausman. Gausman's kind of been a late bloomer. While he's not in his prime necessarily, a couple of years, 3 years past, 30 years old, he has been really, really, really good. His underlying peripherals, outstanding. He's missing more bats than he has ever before in his career. He has more soft contact than at any point in his career. The problem with this game is that San Francisco still are struggling to score runs. They're better against right-handed pitching than they are left-handed pitching. But as we saw in Miami, they had fortunate with Alcantara, for instance. You mentioned that Miami. I had Miami. I ended up winning that game, covering with Miami. But San Francisco's a team that doesn't lay down. They're not going to give up, and they're going to fight to the bitter end. In this particular case, My lean will be with Philly only because I think that they're 7-4. I think on the season. This is a team that is getting good pitching from good from starting pitching. I think they have 8 quality starts in only 11 games. So while I'm not on this game, I would lean Philly here, back at home, swinging the bat.
All right, Tony. Huge shout out to the chat box right now. Jessica, Danny, James, Chris the Mutt, all y'all. Welcome in. Feel free to chime in the chat box what your best bets are, why you're betting it. That all works. Guys, we got Tony Finn, Bryan Leonard here, WagerTalk.com, $9 Monday, that WagerTalk and SportsMemo.com. 3 more games here and best bets at the end as we head to the American League for the next game here. Tampa Bay Rays, Kansas City Royals. We're seeing Fleming versus Danny Duffy. Battle of lefties here as the Rays take on the Royals in Kansas City. Low total here, guys. We saw it open 8. We're seeing 7.5s out there in the market right now, Tony. Another competitively priced game here. Seeing the Rays minus 105, minus 110 here. Kind of a pick 'em price. Pick the winner, Tony. You interested in getting involved with the Rays and Royals tonight?
No, but I'm interested in talking briefly about it, and that is, at least with you guys, how many, raise your hand if you thought Kansas City would be in first place hitting into the final third of April. Not me. And Tampa Bay sweeping the Bronx Bombers over the weekend. Not me. And surprisingly, a lot of this has to do with the Yanks not hitting, because Tampa Bay's not pitching that well. Look at their numbers, the peripherals, both surface and underlying. They're not impressive. They're not hitting the ball fantastic. Kansas City will hit the ball, but I'm telling you right now, it's I don't have to tell you guys, this is a mirage where Kansas City's sitting right now. This is a team that doesn't have the pitching. Duffy has pitched well so far, but Duffy is not trustworthy. He's not trustworthy. As the season goes along, the old Duffy will return. I mean, he's not going to morph into something he hasn't been or was in 2015. So in this game, I would absolutely lean to the over on that low number 8, despite the fact that you never know what you're going to get with either one of these teams' offenses. And Duffy's pitched well, and Fleming is kind of an unknown. Can't say. So I would lean to the over. It's nothing on, but this game's difficult for me to put my arms around.
Yeah, it's difficult for me as well, Bryan. Interested to get your opinion here, mainly because Tampa Bay is a difficult handicap. Coming from last year being the AL pennant winner and then starting off this season not very good. I mean, their bullpen ratings, bottom 5 in the MLB, but then coming off of this past weekend against the Yankees, how much is that the Yankees? How much is that the Rays now turning the corner? It's kind of hard to tell here, Bryan. I mean, minus 110. To tell you the truth, Danny Duffy's velocity was up, coming into this start in the early season here, short sample size. But I kind of like the Royals here, haven't fired yet. Interested in your opinion, Bryan?
Yeah, interesting game. You talk about Tampa Bay coming off that Yankee series. They've dominated the Yankees the last couple of years. So I would think there would be a little bit of a letdown from, after sweeping the Yankees. And now playing Kansas City. Tony talked a little bit about Danny Duffy. One of the things I like last year, he threw his sinker 14% of the time. He's down to 8% this year. The sinker was bad last year. The WOBA was 0.625. This year, it's still bad, but he's not throwing it as often. And I think he's starting to learn. You mentioned the velocity. That's been a plus for Danny Duffy. And Danny Duffy, he's one of those guys that he's either really good or he struggles. And this year, he's had 2 starts. He's had a 70-game score and a 57-game score against Cleveland and the Angels. His last 5 starts against Tampa Bay, he's got an average game score of 62 with an ERA of 2.40. He likes pitching against Tampa Bay, and he's had success in that regard. And Josh Fleming's one of these guys that, he's not really highly thought of, but you take a look at his stats. I mean, 1.80 ERA this year, 2.78 last year. His last starts against Kansas City, his last 7 starts, a 54-game score. He's been very good. I think the under has some value here, and I also think Kansas City does. And, it's early in the season, but Kansas City's 4-1 against lefties. Tampa Bay only 1-2 so far. Um, Kansas City's a team. I think Kansas City's a legit team. I like this team. They're getting they've always been able to stock the minor leagues with pretty good players. They don't have the ability to sign free agents like a lot of teams do. They remind me a lot of Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is one of the teams. You take a look at like Tampa Bay, Minnesota, and Kansas City in the American League. All the last few years, Minnesota spent some money on free agents, but their minor leagues are so good and they build from within. And I like teams like that. I like to root for them. The payrolls are low for the most part. Those are teams I like to root for. I think it's good for baseball when you can promote from in. There, from the Yankees, how many times have we seen the Yankees with these really good minor leaguers? They never get a chance to play because they'll be right on the cusp of the major leagues, and all of a sudden the Yankees will go out and sign somebody. That's the problem you have in the Yankees organization. If you're in Kansas City or Tampa Bay and you're a good player, you're going to make it to the majors. That's the way it works. Tampa Bay does keep them on the minors a little bit longer than what Kansas City does, but you got to admire both these organizations. I think Kansas City's a little bit of value here with this line. I think the Royals are the way to look.
I'm with you. I like the Royals probably by a small piece before this game tops off, guys. Bryan, you bring up a lot of good points in terms of, just baseball. It's one of the reasons, one of my favorite sports. And these teams from different markets can really compete with each other. Not only compete, just look at Tampa Bay winning the American League with having to go up against, teams like the New York Yankees. I know we're not breaking down the Yankees because they got an off day against the Braves tomorrow, which is an interesting handicap, guys. We'll be breaking it down here on First Pitch tomorrow. But Bryan, real quick, I mean, the Yankees, a lot of Yankees fans out there, obviously kind of, bringing a lot of eyeballs to the sport, but just sitting at 5-10 in the AL East. I mean, losing major units here, down already 7 units on the season. Just your overall view of the Yankees here. Do you think this is actually a buy low opportunity for the Yankees and they turn it around, or would you look to fade them?
I'm still looking to fade the Yankees. You're never going to get much of a bargain when you're playing on the Yankees. Are such a popular team. They're a big home run team, play in obviously New York. So you're rarely going to find value on playing the Yankees. Right now, they're not even hitting the ball hard. They're one of the worst in Major League Baseball in hard hit rate. And when you've got some of the big, powerful bats they have, I know the first baseman's out, but some of the other guys they have, they hit the ball really hard. They're just not doing it right now. So when your best hitters are not playing well, and you've got a weak starting rotation, at least in my regard, they've only got 1 or 2 guys that I think should be in a legitimate starting rotation, maybe 3 deep they go. But it's a situation for me that I always look to play against the Yankees, and I'm kicking myself for not doing it enough this year.
Yeah. I mean, the Yankee tax is there. I believe they're the biggest money burner this season, down 7 units. Tony, any quick thoughts here on the way you're attacking the Yankees?
Well, I will say this: I'm getting a little birdie in my ear about every day I get sent a little message. Are the Yankees going to finish over 500? Are they going to win this division? And I say the same thing every day. I say on paper, this is still the best team in that division. I'm not hitting the ball like Boston. They're not pitching like they should. But we're 16 games into a 162 game season and still in April. And how many times, guys, have we seen a team do exactly what the Yankees are doing, and then play to their form or to their potential and to their skill set? I still think that Yankees will win this division. And the fact that the truth of the matter is that I don't think Boston will, as well as they're playing. In fact, they jumped all over. They jumped all over the ball this morning, went deep 3 times before I could blink an eye. So we'll see. But I sure wouldn't count them out, would you?
No, I wouldn't count them out. I mean, I do worry about their starting pitching. I worry about the Yankee tax. The Yankees aren't a team that I really circle when I start looking at the card to bet on. I'm more like Bryan talked about. I kind of look to fade them here, but I could see them turning it around because they do have a lot of talent in that lineup. But that will be a game we break down tomorrow, guys. Braves and Yankees. Interesting handicap there on the Tuesday card, but the Yankees do have a bye on Monday card. It's a short card here. Sometimes that's better for sports bettors, guys. And we got 2 games left and a best bet as we'll hit this Milwaukee Brewers San Diego Padres game. Next game up, fascinating pitching matchup here. We got 2 hard throwing righties, or at least Woodruff really hard throwing at plus 115. No, I'm seeing Woodruff now catching plus 140 here on the WagerTalk odds screen. So huge money towards the San Diego Padres, Bryan. We got Musgrove, of course, just 2 starts ago, throwing that no-hitter. Minus 158, I'm seeing him here. Minus 155 to minus 165. The Padres at the WagerTalk odds screen right now, Bryan. So the Padres throughout the morning have taken some money here. Brewers, Padres, late night action in Petco Park. You interested in getting involved here, Bryan?
I think there's some value. I disagree with the line move. Joe Musgrove in his career, his last 7 starts against Milwaukee, his average game score is 45, 6.14 ERA. Granted, he's a lot better now than he was in his earlier years, but 4 or 3 of those games were in 2019 to 2020. So that's part of his changeover from being a journeyman to a pretty good pitcher. But Brandon Woodruff, you're going to give me Brandon Woodruff with a 1.81 ERA, his last 7 starts, a 68 game score, a 53 average game score, his 2 starts against the Padres the last couple of years. And you're going to give me plus 145 at the Westgate right now? And you're going to tell me that San Diego is coming off of playing the Dodgers and the letdown after getting all that hype against the Dodgers, and now they're going to lay this number. I know Milwaukee's not hitting the ball hard. San Diego's doing a lot better job of that, but to me, I'll take Woodruff over Musgrove any day. I'll take the back of the Milwaukee bullpen up against San Diego's, although I think San Diego's back of the bullpen is very good. I think the back of the Milwaukee bullpen is excellent. And you're going to give me plus 145? I think Milwaukee's a solid bet here. I'm going against the line move.
I'm with you, Bryan. I think Milwaukee's the side here, kind of looking to fade the Padres, maybe even look to fade the Dodgers tonight off of that key series against 2 teams that are a little bit underrated, at least in my opinion, Tony, the Seattle Mariners, and in this game, the Milwaukee Brewers with Woodruff on the hill, good bullpen as well. So I'm looking towards the Brewers here. Tony, what do you think of tonight, Pods and Brewers?
I don't, unlike you guys, first off, I don't put a whole lot of emphasis on revenge or hype games or rivals, not in professional sports, a little more in football simply because of the physicality of it. But baseball is one of those, I think these guys, they may show some emotion on game night, but I think they shrug it off. These are professionals and routine's pretty important to them. It's not like it's a 16, 17 week schedule, 1 game a week. It's got the good teams. The good teams are teams that would come out of a series such as San Diego and Los Angeles. And yesterday was something that they already forgot. And today, what's in front of them is on hand. And I believe both of these teams, both San Diego and the Dodgers, are that team. The Dodgers a little more. I think San Diego has a couple kids and a couple players that can get pretty emotional. But the truth is, I was hoping. Listen, Musgrave's no-hitter kind of ruined things for me a little bit because I thought I'd get some nice prices on him early in the year, and because I believe that he's a completely different pitcher than he was in 2019, even different than last year. And there's something about playing for a team that can score. And all the years he was with the Pirates, they aren't much different. They aren't much different this year than they were in years past, and that is that they're just they're offensively challenged for the most part, and talent-wise they're challenged. Milwaukee's got a great pitching staff, very similar situation. Put any of these guys, take the starter for tonight for Milwaukee, and what you're going to have is put him on a San Diego team or a Los Angeles team, and he's not only a higher probability to win, but he's a different pitcher too, simply because of what he knows, how he feels. And there's something to be said about confidence on the mound, knowing you can challenge the hitter, knowing that if you make a mistake, you have someone that's got your back, and that would be the bats. Milwaukee bats haven't been good enough. I would be leaning San Diego here to keep grinding away. They got a better pitching staff overall, and Milwaukee's pitch staff's pretty darn good. But San Diego can score runs. and they can hit the ball. And I like Tatis after his series, kind of getting his groove back, getting his hand-eye coordination, and offensively, there's no comparing these two teams.
Good stuff from Tony Finn. Guys, check him out, WagerTalk.com. $9 Monday. All plays discounted to $9, even the 5%. So it's a great day to check out both WagerTalk and SportsMemo.com. Guys, next game up here, the nightcap. We got some actually good late night West Coast action tonight with 3 games topping off at 9:30 Eastern or later. Next one up here, the LA Dodgers and the Seattle Mariners. Another good pitching matchup here, Tony. We got May going for the Dodgers. We remember him in the playoffs, how dominant he was. And Sheffield, actually pretty good pitcher here coming from the left side for Seattle. We're seeing 8.5 as the total here, Tony. Also seeing the Dodgers, heavy favorites, seeing minus 195 right now, mostly at the Wager Talk odds screen. You interested in getting involved in the late night affair here, LA versus Seattle, Tony?
Well, this is my best bet, and I'll just briefly touch on this. And since we're going to go over best bets, I'll leave the majority of that commentary, that monologue, for that session. But Dustin May, I think he's being handled incorrectly. Listen, the Dodgers. If there's a negative about the Dodgers, at least a week ago, I would have said the only negative is if you think too much pitching and too much hitting is a negative, then that would be your negative, because that's what they have. I spoke to on Spoken Civil radio shows last week that I thought that this is, after going through the schedule, guys, status quo. If all things being equal, and that would be if, as long as they're healthy, they got no more than one starting pitcher out of the rotation for some reason, and a couple of position players, then there's a chance the Dodgers are never an underdog. For 162 games this year, they are not an underdog, not one time. If there was going to be a chance, maybe if it wasn't Kershaw against Darvish, there was a chance. I mean, that came down a little bit after opening at 135, but there's only a few pitchers against this 5 that you can put up against them in their home park with their lineups. That is going to be even over Dustin May. Dustin May should be the closer here. Jansen is a absolute nightmare if you're playing the Dodgers, and Dave Roberts continues to trust this guy. Dustin May should be the closer. They should have bring Gonsolin in to be the 5th starter. You can even bring in Price. He could be your 5th starter. Dustin May, for 2 innings, can throw 102, 103 miles. He's dominant. His 12.2 Ks per 9 innings. Long story short, it's the first time Seattle has ever seen May, and as good as they've played, and as free swinging as they are, and as loose. And listen, there's no contract disputes, sir. There's no general manager manipulating contracts for Seattle. They're a dangerous team when they have nothing to lose, and that's who they are right now. Save the fact that they're playing the best team in baseball, maybe in the last 20 years.
Man, good stat there, Tony. And Tony, just real quickly, the Dodgers might go all season not being the underdog. Is that what you said? That's very surprising.
Never won't be an underdog one time. Now, obviously, if a couple of their starting pitchers get hurt, and it's tough to go 162 games, guys, without having one of your pitcher starters hit the DL, right? However, I've looked through it. I mean, give me maybe DeGrom, but even then, maybe DeGrom, if the Mets are playing really well, and maybe Gonsolin's in there, DeGrom might be the favorite, but there's no situation, not one team in that division where the Dodgers, as they are underdog all season.
Wow, that's a heck of a stat. I would probably bet against that, given the longevity of the MLB season. Yeah. Interested on your opinion, Brian. Would you bet against that if there was a minus 110 on each side? And also throw it over to you for your opinion on the Dodgers and Mariners.
I definitely bet against that. If David Price is pitching against one of the top 2 top 2 Padres pitchers, I take the Padres as the favorite in that game, and DeGrom's going to be a favorite. It's Tony and I see this game differently. The Dodgers are 9-1 this year against right-handed starters. They're only 4-2 against lefties. They're facing a lefty here in Justice Sheffield. Go over your last 6 games that Sheffield has pitched. Its game scores 58, 63, 59, 52, 34 against the Chicago White Sox, who we know rake against left-handed starters. and 61 his last time out against Baltimore. Dustin May's last 7 starts, 57. So basically, you're looking at 2 pitchers right now. They're pitching just as well as each other, and I don't buy into the Dustin May being a reliever. I think he's a starter. They want him to be in the starting rotation. And the Dodgers are just off. I know Tony talked about he doesn't believe, the letdown situations, and I understand that. It's different when you're playing a physical game like basketball or football as opposed to more of a cerebral game like baseball. So that does make a difference. But still, you're prone to have, I've played baseball my entire life, and you're prone to have letdowns against certain teams. It's just the way it is. Seattle's a team that's won 7 out of their last 9 games. This is a young team. Talent-wise, the Dodgers are much better. The most talented team, I don't know, going back 20 years, but they're the most talented team in the last 2 or 3 years in baseball, maybe even 5. But Seattle's a team that doesn't know any better. They're young. Tony pointed it out. They're a young team just out there trying to play well, and I think there's value on them right now. Teams won 7 out of the last 9 games, playing at home against a Dodgers team who's much better against righties. I'll take Seattle. I think there's plenty of value here. And, we'll talk about this a little bit more as Tony and I go head-to-head when we get to our best bets. But, I look at it a little bit differently than Tony does. Let's just put it that way.
All right.
I'll say this. Brian's right. I'm going to say Brian's right about the left-hand, right-hander dichotomy. It's still early, but I will say this, Brian. The left-handers that the Dodgers have lost to are night and day different than Sheffield. We're talking about Snell and Luzardo of Oakland. Those, and even I'm just saying that's who they've lost to. They lost 3 games all year, right? That's what they are, 13-3 or 13-4, whatever it is. And those are the guys they've lost to. So I really feel that way about the Dodgers. But we do have that best bet, Sarah, and I'll get on that because that's my best bet. And I think the Dodgers -1.5 is play.
All right. So some conflict here, guys, in the best bet, but conflict sometimes, actually most of the time, equals good content. So stay tuned for this. We got best bets at the end, but first want to share Tokyo Brandon's Asian League Baseball. Little quick pick here for the best bet for tonight. Stay tuned for this, guys. Quick clip here.
Tokyo Brandon here with Monday night's Japanese baseball quick pick. The Yakult Swallows travel to Mazda Zoom Zoom Stadium to take on the Hiroshima Carp. Morishita had a great rookie season in 2020, especially against Yakult. He had a 0.90 whip, and he had 4 out of 4 quality starts. He was particularly good at home. Yakult, on the other hand, has Taguchi on the mound. He was awful against the Carp, and he was particularly awful at Mazda Zoom Zoom. He had a 7.11 ERA and a 2.8 whip. I really like the Carp here. Take the Carp on the money line, Monday night, Japanese baseball. I'll be back with more, guys. Thanks.
All right.
How come we don't have any baseball teams named Carp, right? I want a mascot named Carp. Is that?
All right, guys, we got time for best bets. Tony Finn, Brian Leonard, Drew Martin here. WagerTalk.com, $9 Monday. Remember that at WagerTalk and SportsMemo.com. I'll lead us off since I think Brian and Tony got some good analysis here on their best bet. Not that mine's not good analysis. Hopefully it comes through here, guys. Milwaukee and the San Diego Padres. We're seeing Woodruff and Musgrove go at it. We got the Padres -158 favorites, 6.5 being the total. And we're getting a sub-7 total here, guys, meaning the market's telling us runs are going to be at a premium. Right off the bat, I'm interested in the underdog. And sure enough, we get a plus price here, +142 on the Brewers, meaning you got to risk 100. If the Brewers win tonight, you get $142 back. Woodruff has been great this season, 19-3 strikeout to walk ratio, ERA just over 2. I love betting on this guy. And Musgrove, nothing against him, great pitcher in himself. Just 2 starts ago, the no-hitter, plus the fact Musgrove coming over from Pittsburgh, same division as Milwaukee. And sure enough, the Brewers have over a 730 team OPS against Musgrove. So here at the +142 price in the nightcap, West Coast here, low scoring game, taking a shot on the Brewers plus 142 for my best bet for the show. Bryan, heading over to you for best bets here, guys. Check Bryan out at WagerTalk.com. Having a good MLB season, #1 at WagerTalk.com over the last 4 seasons in MLB profits. So you want to make sure to check him out. It's also $9 Monday, guys. Great time to visit the website. Bryan, where are you going tonight for best bets, buddy?
A couple things before I get to that. First off, in regards to your play, I like your play, and I was leaning towards the under until it went to 6.5. That keeps me off. I've actually struggled so far in the baseball season compared to what I normally do. So I've been tearing it up in hockey, finding my way in baseball right now. So I don't want to let people, don't want to come off as if I'm doing very well in baseball right now. But as Tony pointed out, we're 10% into the season, so we got a long way to go yet. The Dodgers 2-1 favorite here. I just don't buy into it. Not only since they just played San Diego, you've got to worry about who the Dodgers are going to put out in this lineup. Roberts likes to keep his entire bench in the games. They're already missing Bellinger. Now they played 3 games against San Diego. He's going to let some of those guys have a rest here against a team from the American League. This is probably the least. I would say this may be the least important series for the Dodgers the rest of the season. Not only playing the team in the American League, they're playing a team that isn't expected to finish worse than second to last in their division. So I could see a lot of bench guys playing this series for the Dodgers. And Sheffield, sure, he's not one of those names that you had mentioned, but he's been very good. And he's staying under the radar. He's given up a couple home runs. The Dodgers pitcher May hasn't given up a home run yet, and that's why his ERA is better. But when you take a look at these teams, you gotta take a chance on San Diego here in my regard with this price. You're getting big plus money here on the team that's gone 7-2 their last 9 games. That includes beating some quality teams in Minnesota and Houston. So they play good teams. Dodgers are a step above that, but I'm taking the underdog here. This is my free play on the website also.
All right, check it out at the website, WagerTalk.com. Bryan, over the last 4 years, #1 at WagerTalk. And short sample size here, guys, out the gate, so maybe buy low on him this season. We got Tony Finn up next. Best bet, buddy. Finish it off for us.
And I'm on the other side of what Bryan is for several reasons. I'm also of the belief that you can exchange 3 or 4 of the bench players from this current Dodgers team with the starters that they're going to be the regular starters, and they still platoon. There's still guys who play primarily against right-handed pitching, others against left-handed, et cetera, et cetera. That's how versatile, how deep this Dodgers team is. For the most part, they're 13-4. Seattle, first off, guys, they have a half-game lead over the Halos right now in the West, in the junior circle. And Seattle checks in with a 10-6 record tonight. 10 victories, 5 teams. They've played 5 teams so far in April, and only one of them has a winning record on the season, that being the San Francisco Giants. And I'm also not a believer that the San Francisco Giants are a team that's going to finish above 500 when the season ends. They're not hitting the ball at all. Their WRC plus is I think ranks about 24th or 25th right now in Major League Baseball. So they don't have the bullpen they've had in past years. Starting pitcher is, again, for San Francisco, it's Gosman. I'm getting off track here a little bit. But again, Seattle, this is a team that's going to be up and down. They are. They're a young team. As we both have said, both Bryan and I, they're going to play loose mostly. They really don't have much to lose. They're going to play hard. They're going to be awful. Some weeks they're going to go stretches where this team's going to be absolutely awful because of who they are and their pitching staff. Yeah, the Dodgers just aren't going to be. They're not going to be very high. They're not going to get very low. And if they can survive Dave Roberts and some of the decisions they make, and truthfully, if they can survive being arguably the worst situational team that I've ever seen, these guys swing for the fences far too much, and Roberts just doesn't ask them late in the game to move runners, just maybe to pad a lead or something. They survive that, and Jansen, then no one's going to be close to this team, and they'll go into the World Series being an overwhelming favorite, whoever comes out of the American League. Tonight, minus
All right.
1.5. In fact, I'm sorry. As far as I'm concerned, if they're on the road, the Dodgers are on the road, and they're going to be at their median, which right now is minus 200. That's what their median's been, an average money line. Then you're going to get $1.30. It's going to be minus 1.5, minus 130, and I'm in on whoever they're playing on that number.
Check him out. Tony Finn, WagerTalk.com. 17-8 runs since April 9th. Seeing it well on the diamond. Guys, in recap here, the best bets. I'm on the Brewers, plus 142. We got Bryan Leonard on the Mariners, plus 176. Taking shots here on big underdogs and the nightcaps. Tony Finn on the opposite side of that, guys. Interesting note here. Dodgers, minus 1.5 on the run line, minus 130. And then we got the Asian baseball. Best bet from Tokyo Brandon. We got the Carp, minus 210, as Tony pointed out. Carp, what a name for a baseball team.
I like
Guys,
it.
It's been a fun show. Happy Monday out there. Please smash the like button if you're liking the content. If you're watching on replay, that's cool too. Feel free to leave a comment below. Huge shout out to the chat box. You guys were live today, throwing out the best bets. Best of luck with all of those. Guys, we'll be back tomorrow. Same time, same place, right here on the Wager Talk YouTube channel, 1:45 Eastern time. For Bryan Leonard, Tony Finn, I am Drew Martin. Best of luck with your bets, and we'll talk tomorrow.